Hi guys, my name is Lawrence Baker. I'm an Adobe certified expert in Photoshop CC and Photoshop Lightroom. This video is going to be about metadata presets. Before I go there, I'm going to cover metadata in a bit more detail. Metadata means data about data. What does that mean in the context of Lightroom? Well, there's three different types of data you can add into an image in Lightroom. There's EXIF, Iptc and XMP. What do those acronyms mean? Let's start with the first one. Exchangeable image file format. It was started by the Japanese camera manufacturers to add data about the shot you've taken inside the file. So it'll be about ISO, aperture, time of shot, etc, etc, even GPS coordinates. They're all EXIF data. So anything out of the camera is EXIF data. The next one is Iptc, International Press Telecommunications Council. It's an organisation in London representing news agencies who deal with huge amounts of photographs and need great detail about each photograph. And the list of metadata you can add with Iptc is as long as my arm. It's quite useful for one reason. It's the copyright you add into an image is Iptc data. Your telephone and your address you can add in as well. But copyright data is Iptc. The final one is Extensible Metadata Platform, XMP. It's Adobe's product and it's open source and Adobe are allowing anyone to use it. And what XMP will do, it'll almost encompass both those two other ones, Iptc and EXIF data. I say EXIF because that's how people pronounce it, but it's EXIF, it's an acronym obviously. It will encompass all them, plus other data you might do inside Lightroom, like image edits, keywords. Keywording, by the way, is XMP data. So not just Adobe are supporting XMP, there's plenty of other digital asset managers and image editing programs out there that support XMP. Notably though, if you're going to use another Adobe product, you really should save the XMP data into the file, because Adobe Bridge can read it and Photoshop can read it and Premiere can read it, etc. In Lightroom you have two options. You can save it automatically or you can save it per file. I'll cover that in a minute. So that's the three bits to metadata. That's data about data, and the three bits of data are XMP, EXIF and Iptc. Right, back to Lightroom. Now, I'm going to turn on the right hand side panel by pressing F8. Now, you can see here I've got normal copyright no date, my only preset. As I say, I don't think metadata presets are that useful, but for stuff like copyright, they obviously are. I think copyright's of quite limited use, especially online, because a lot of social media platforms and image hosting platforms strip out the metadata. Let's set it on EXIF data. What EXIF data have I got in this picture here? The time it was shot, 2014, exposure, focal length, all these things are EXIF data. And the GPS coordinates, quite notably. I could even put altitude and direction in if I wish. Now, Iptc data I've got inside this image is my website, my email, my phone number, my address, the copyright, etc, etc, and title and caption. So you can put quite a lot of information just in this very simple Iptc. Now if I show you Iptc extension, well, the list is huge. It's even got persons shown, models, about their age, whether they've allowed it to be released. The list is huge, and believe me, news agencies need this information. They have people just employed to look after this data. They might be Photoshop experts, but they will look after this data. Digital asset management is big business for news agencies, and that's why Iptc organisation was created, and especially the metadata side of it. So anyway, that aside, let's talk about XMP. Now XMP, Extensible Metadata Platform, is Adobe's idea, and it will allow you to store stuff like image edit done to the pixels, keywords, etc, etc, and it will also encompass the EXIF data and the Iptc data. It's like an envelope around the whole lot, with the added bonus, if I did some development changes to this, it will be saved with the file. So if I lost my catalogue, if I'd saved the metadata or XMP metadata to the file, when I come to re-import these pictures into a new catalogue, all my developed settings will be there. Most of them, not all of them. There are a few little exceptions around what data is not stored with XMP. I think GPS and one or two other ones. But the major work that I've done to that image will be saved. Now, the two places you can save XMP data is in the catalogue settings. It says under metadata, automatically write changes into the XMP. For most files, it writes it directly into the file. For some RAW formats, which proprietary RAW formats, it will save them as a sidecar file. So if it's PSD, GIF, JPEG, TIFF, it will save them directly into the file. If it can't or thinks it's too risky because they're proprietary RAW file formats, it will save them in a sidecar file. So it doesn't matter if you don't change your images to DNG, it will save them as a sidecar file. If you convert the images to DNG, which is Adobe's file format, it will write the XMP straight into the file. I think that's all I could say. Just a little thing here. Obviously, under metadata, you can save metadata to file. If I hadn't already had that ticked or ticked off in preferences, I can go Control or Command S or just save metadata to file from the metadata pull down menu. So there you go. Now let's edit a metadata preset. I've only got one. It always comes up with custom. I don't quite know why that is. Anyway, normal copyright, no date. What I'm trying to say there is I don't have a date against my copyright. I'm not that big of a photographer that I really need to copyright my images. And I don't like copywriting or watermarking. I think they're a bit, well, it's an English word called naff, a bit cheesy. But it's entirely up to you. And when you're new, you will do it. But after a while, you'll think that watermark looks ugly. And the copyright is a bit pointless, as I say, because most online people like Twitter and 500px will strip out a lot of your data anyway. So it's pointless. And as copyright would only exist digitally with this image, it'd only be relevant if you were sending it to someone like a news agency who can read this data. If you send that raw file to them or you send a TIFF to them. And you have the option on export what you want to include as well, and that's for another video. So I've got this normal copyright no date. Now if I wanted to update this with a label, let's say direction, I could put anything in here. West is not right, of course. It's going to say edited in brackets because I've edited it. Now I can have the option of going down to update normal copyright with that information, save it as a new preset, or just go back to normal copyright no date, which I'm going to do now. So I'm back to my normal preset. There's so much here with Iptc, I'm not going to cover it. Check field, if you start to type in a box, it will automatically tick it anyway. So if you went check none now, it would uncheck them all. And if you click check field, it'll only tick the box as well as information alongside. On import, you can add a preset to your files, or you can add it at a later date if that didn't have, let's say go done on this and ask if I want to save it. I don't want to save it. I haven't done any changes I think are relevant. Now if it didn't have any metadata stored with it, I can find a preset like normal copyright no date and it will embed that information into the file. Then personally, I would do save metadata to file, Command S, even though it does it automatically probably on exit or at some point. I would just out of habit go Command S or Control S, Mac or PC respectively. So why or when would I use a metadata preset? I just have it on import. So I'm going to go to import here quickly to show you. I've covered importing before in previous videos. I can have an import preset here which will encompass all of this information here, all of it. But the important one is apply during import. I can have normal copyright no date. My destination set up. I've got a little, see it's destination. In fact, I've been saving movies. So you've got to be careful here, guys, that you're using the right preset, or always check the settings on the right. It's just showing it to me here that I've actually got a small error here. It should be pictures and then photos and then it's by date. By date, yeah, that's fine. So You could save this now as an import preset, and it's only an import preset, but importantly, when you import something, apply during import, you can have a metadata preset, which I've got, normal copyright, no date. And you can have it as part of an import preset. So don't get the two confused. Import preset means everything here. You can see metadata preset is the metadata I've been showing you, like normal copyright I've been showing you. You can also here edit your presets. Adobe has given you a lot of places you can edit them, and editing them here is not a big deal. You can edit them in the library if you wish to, but as it say, it always shows custom for me, but I don't know if it's going to do it for you. But I've got a normal copyright, no date, and I go done. So that's going to be applied. You can also put keywords in them. It's metadata, but it's not relevant to metadata presets. Anyway, I'm going to cancel on that. That, guys, really is metadata presets. I would recommend that you always save the XMP data into the file because it's like a form of backup. It puts a small overhead on the file. As I say, I don't find metadata presets that useful. It's about copyright, and as I say, a lot of online platforms will strip out your copyright anyway. So have it as a matter of course as an import preset. Don't fret too much about it because keywording is the real clue to metadata as far as I'm concerned. The keywording you use and the file naming to a certain extent, but keywording more than anything else is very important. I'm going to cover keywording in detail in another video. I hope I've covered everything, guys, here, and you've got something from this. As I say, metadata presets are quite useful, but not that useful. Thanks, guys.